polite person. Hello, it's day 6 of Spin Together. And we have a surprise for you guys.
We have a prize.
Prize. Who are you, person over there?
I'm Declan. This is going to be story time with Declan. Today we're going to be reading The Golden Lamb by Irene Go, illustrated by Joy Murray.
This is reading rainbow like.
I can't go anywhere.
Published in September 1969 by Scholastic Magazines Incorporated.
Really an old book. That's really old.
It is.
That's as old as my sister. She's really old.
Your job is to continue on as if the hecklers are not here.
Julie had lived all her life on the sheep property in South Australia. Every spring she had seen the new lambs arrive. Hundreds of them with soft white fleeces and solemn little faces. Sometimes they looked so alike that she wondered how their mothers could tell them apart. As she had grown older, she had started helping her father and her uncle. At busy times, at the tailing especially, when all the lambs were brought to have their tails cut off, and the shearing, of course.
That sounds really cruel, but they had to do that because otherwise they get like fly strike and stuff.
That's when they're eaten alive by maggots.
So it's really being nice to the sheep.
Right. I would much rather have my tail cut off than being eaten alive by maggots.
Well, they don't, yeah. Okay, anyway.
So she thought she knew just about everything there was to know about lambs. And this is why Julie was so very, very surprised when one day she saw the golden lamb. It all started one morning when she was out before breakfast in the Boulders paddock. The new lambs were playing together, frisking about an old ewe who had settled down, her back humped for a rest. Julie stood watching them. 3 big lambs were nuzzling a little one. Then Julie saw the biggest give it a knock that sent it sprawling in the grass. The little girl suddenly stumped. "Just look," she cried to her pony. "It's a golden lamb." It was...
Did the pony just show up in the story randomly?
No, those pictures have the pony, okay?
Well, we gotta see these pictures.
Well, you can look on your phone.
There's no pictures on my phone. Just Declan reading. Okay.
The pony, I was really jealous when I was a kid that she had a pony and lived on a sheep farm.
It was quite golden. Its straight, shining fleece glistened like silk.
Okay, and this is for real. This is real life, guys. Real life.
It was not like any lamb she had seen before. There were black lambs sometimes, but she had never seen that looked as if it were made of golden silk.
And that's what they look like. They are genetically different, and it's a dominant gene they're finding out.
Right. I wonder if it's really dominant or whether it's incomplete dominant.
I don't know.
Then it makes you wonder, yeah. Okay, go on.
They're now studying it.
The other lambs with their cream curls stood staring at the golden lamb where it stood shaking its little head. Then it ran towards them. But the white lambs frisked off down the hill, bleating together, leaving the golden lamb alone. "What a shame," Julie cried, tugging at Brownie's reins.
That was her pony.
That pony has a name. Okay, continue, please. Don't mind us.
He wants to play and they won't let him. She watched a little shining lamb run up to the ewe whose white lamb frisked at her side. The sheep turned and lowered her head as though to butt him. The golden lamb stopped on his straight little legs and stared. Then he turned and ran back to his mother, who was still settled comfortably in the grass. She lifted her woolly head and nuzzled her little one. His mother loves him anyway. Come on, Brownie. He's safe with her, said Julie.
See, that was a good ewe. Some ewes would have rejected them because they're not the most thrifty of the sheep.
Well, it was a good ewe.
That was a good ewe.
Good mothering instinct on this farm.
Julie had to ride through 3 more paddocks, but although she looked carefully at the lambs in each one, all the lambs she saw were just the usual kind of white merino she had known all her life. There was not even a black one.
This is a thing that they are only finding in the merinos.
And they're actually like studying it for real. Finally, after all these years.
When breakfast was over and Uncle Peter was saddling his chestnut mare, at last Julie had a chance to speak to him. I saw a very strange lamb today, Uncle Peter. Saw what? Uncle Peter was lighting his pipe now and did not look down to his niece. A lamb. You'll see lots of those before the morning's done. If you're coming with us, sure you won't get bored trailing around. His eyes twinkled, and Julie laughed. It was their own joke. Uncle Peter always said the same thing, although he knew how she loved to go with him when they inspected the flock. Julie wondered whether to try again to tell him about the lamb. It was funny how grown-ups, even the very best kind, seem to get muddled when you try to tell them something.
Is that true, Declan?
Yes, very true.
God,
muddled? We get muddled?
We get muddled.
Okay.
She decided that she would just say nothing and let Uncle Peter find out himself.
Fine, I'm not going to tell you about the gold sheep. It's like gold goose.
Right, right.
So they set off on their morning rounds, Julie, Uncle Peter, and Murphy, the stockman. Julie didn't like Murphy. He had a terrible temper, and he could not be bothered with youngsters. Julie knew it would be no use telling him about the golden lamb. She clenched her small white teeth together into a loose one until a loose one hurt. She would not say one word. Uncle Peter did not seem to notice. He whistled away and sometimes burst out singing.
They all have ponies. I wonder what all those ponies' names are.
I don't know.
There's Brownie and Horse and Horse.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarification there.
His eyes, though, were scanning every bush and every sheltering rock for ewes and lambs. When they came to the boulder's paddock, Julie held her breath in fear, looking quickly to the thorn bush where she had seen the golden lamb. It was not there. She looked about her, and there it was, standing alone beside a rock, watching the other lambs play. Its coat shone gold in the sunlight. Uncle Peter suddenly reined his mare. "There it is, Uncle!" cried Julie, pointing. "The strange lamb! Isn't it beautiful?" Uncle Peter's tanned face did not break into the big smile she had expected. "It's strange, all right," he agreed. "I've heard of that kind with the straight fleece, but we haven't had one on this place before."
And that's how it was, and then they got rid of them, and now they're finally studying them.
"I believe you find one every so often, but only in a flock of merinos." He started to dismount. Murphy rode up. "It's all right, Mr. Standerson. I'll deal with it." "Julie, you better go on a little way," he said. "What?" said Uncle Peter. "Uncle, you're not going to kill this one." Julie could not believe it. "But there's nothing wrong with him. You never kill the good ones, Uncle."
How do you really feel about that?
What?
It's called dramatic reading.
I know, it's very passionate.
Uncle Peter looked up. Don't be so upset about it, he said kindly. You be a good girl, and go right on. Leave us to do our work. Then tears came to Julie's eyes. I thought you'd love him, Uncle Peter, and you just want to kill him. Now you're being silly, said Uncle Peter. In what for him was quite a stern voice. We can't keep odd fellows like this. You know the main thing for a sheep breeder to think of is the good of the flock. I know, Julie cried. The good of the flock. She knew it by heart. She had heard it since she could listen. But this was different. If we keep all the odd sheep that turn up the wool clip will soon be so mixed that we'll get nothing for it, Uncle Peter said slowly. Why do we have to sell this wool at all? Asked Julie in a small voice. Couldn't I just keep him as a pet and throw his wool away? It wouldn't hurt the flock then, would it? Murphy broke in. No, you can't keep it. This is a top-class flock, and we can't let talk get around that. We've got a freak in the mob.
So they call a sheep flock in Australia a mob.
A mob.
Julie could hardly stop herself from
To
bursting.
be trampled by the mob. What happened? She could barely stop herself from bursting into tears?
Into tears.
Okay, sorry.
You can't let him kill it, Uncle Peter. Don't let him kill the golden lamb. All right, Julie, you win, said her uncle. But I wonder what your father will say. He may agree with Murphy. Too right he will, said Murphy, angry. He's got some sense, and I'll tell him about it myself as soon as we get back. Have a heart, Murphy. None of that, said Uncle Peter. Julie will explain to him herself. It can't do any harm for her to keep up the lamb as a pet.
It's like, is this okay?
And even you
Very suspenseful.
And even you wouldn't want to upset her over such a small matter, Murphy growled. You'll regret this, he said.
Wow.
He's a mean person.
That is a very dramatic buck.
The golden lamb looked at Julie mildly as she went up to him. She stroked his head. You dear little thing, she breathed. Then she sat in the grass and held his silk body to her. He was warm and soft and smelt of the morning. She watched as Uncle Peter and Murphy swung down the creek beds. Uncle Peter did not look back to life, but Murphy turned and scowled at her as she held the lamb in her arms.
So they abandoned the child on the outback with the sheep.
She had a pony.
Oh, okay. That's
She
right.
had the
Brownie,
pony.
the faithful
Brownie,
pony.
the faithful pony was eating grass right by her.
Okay.
Suddenly, a terrible idea came into her mind. What if Murphy was right? And Daddy thought, too, of the good of the flock. What if he did not want to keep the golden lamb? The ewe, who had been watching from the rocks, moved closer, calling softly to the little lamb. You like him too, said Julie. It's not fair he should be killed just because he's different. I'll hide him, and you could look after him. Come on. She jumped up and settled the little lamb comfortably in her arms, as she had been taught. Julie looked about. No one was in sight. Only a few crows flapped lazily overhead, and far up in the blue sky she could see a hawk. But the ewe was following, calling softly. and nothing would hurt the lamb while his mother looked after him. It wasn't far to the boulders. Inside the tall circle of rocks, bars of sun and shadows lay across the bracken. It was a secret place. If there was enough room for Brownie to squeeze through, there was plenty of room for a sheep. Julie put the golden lamb down in the tangle of bracken beside the tiny spring, which had never...
Water. There was what?
There was water too.
She did really good. She
She
found
did
grass
really
and
good.
water and shelter and the whole 9 yards.
Right?
which had never dried out in the many months she had played beside it, so that there was feed in the plenty. "They won't find you here," she said to the lamb, and his mother, the golden lamb. She said to the lamb and his mother. The golden lamb sniffed at her hand. "I will come back," she said. "And we'll play together." And then again, after she had built a little rock wall to keep them both in, she called softly, "I will come back." But Julie had forgotten one thing: Uncle Peter. "Are you allowed to keep the lamb?" he asked, when she ran out to meet him at the gate. "What did your dad say?" Julie looked down at her scratched brown shoes. He didn't say anything. Then she looked up at Uncle Peter. "Because I didn't tell him. And please, Uncle, you mustn't tell him either." "Now look, Julie," Uncle Peter said firmly. "You can't hide a lamb away for long. You know that. Even if you don't, it will be found soon enough." "It won't," Julie said, as stern as Uncle Peter now. "It will not be found." "All right," Uncle Peter grinned. "But remember, this is your lamb. And you'll have to say so when it is found." But Julie told nobody. Every day she rode out to the boulders to see the golden lamb. She watched him grow bigger and stronger. His fleece was still shining, although she half expected it to grow into creamy curls like that of other sheep. She took out her old hairbrush so that the burrs would not spoil his fleece. It was fun to brush him until he shone like a big piece of gold.
So they're finding that these sheep, they mat. They felt their wool does.
Talk about this afterwards. They're good.
Oh my gosh, they're gonna kill us.
They are. Keep going, Declan.
I know, they're gonna be like, hey.
Uncle Peter, always busy about the farm, did not say a word to her about her pet. And when he went down to Adelaide on holiday, Julie hoped that he had forgotten all about it. It was when Uncle Peter was away when it happened. Julie came home to find a stranger talking with her father. "Come and meet Mr. Willis," he said. "He works for the CSIRO, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization." "Oh, I know about the CSIRO," replied Julie. "They are the people who helped Uncle Andrew get rid of the prickly pear when it was growing all over his station in Queensland." "That's right," said Mr. Willis. "Prickly pear had become a real pest, but we found a way to get rid of it." "But why are you here?" asked Julie. "There's no prickly pear in South Australia, is there?" Mr. Willis laughed. "Well, nothing to worry about, Julie. But prickly pear isn't the only thing we are interested in. I work in the animal research department. finding ways to help farmers raise even better sheep than they do now. I heard that your father's merino flock was one of the best in South Australia. So of course, I wanted to see how he did it.
That looks like one of those boring adult talks.
It is one of those boring adult talks. Have you ever sat around and waited for hours in a day to wait till you're done with an adult talk? I bet you haven't. I do it every day. Julie's heart missed a beat. Are you going to ride around the paddocks? She asked, trying not to show her fear. Her father broke in. That's the idea. Murphy's been out all morning mustering. He's down in the Boulders paddock now, bringing the sheep into the yard. Run and get Brownie and you can come with us. Julie ran. She ran as she had never run before. No one had told her about Mr. Willis coming, though they must have known. If Uncle Peter had been at home, she would have known all about the mustering. Uncle Peter always told her. What if Murphy found the golden lamb? He would bring it in with the rest, make sure that Mr. Willis saw it. And the golden lamb had often tried to get out. She had worked for hours to make the wall safe and high enough, but the lamb was growing so big. But whether the golden lamb had climbed the wall in all the excitement of the mustering, or if the sheepdogs had found him, Julie never could decide. She could see the golden lamb as they swung into the Boulders paddock. He stood there by the rocks, quite still, looking mildly down. Then, as the dogs barked, he raced down among the other lambs, his long tail flying. Julie lost sight of him in the tangle of legs and the dust flying of the yard. Then out of the corner of her eye, she saw Murphy. He rode up with a triumphant grin on his face that seemed to say, "Now we'll see who's right." Mr. Willis was leaning on the rail of the mustering yard, looking over the flock when Julie saw him suddenly stiffen, and as she followed his gaze, her heart sank. The golden lamb, rather dusty, but as mild and gentle as ever. He stood among the others like a canary among sparrows. Nobody could miss him. In great excitement, Mr. Willis began the point. Following the finger, Daddy roared. "Good grief! How did that thing get past us? Missed the tailing, too!" Julie tugged hard at his sleeve. She remembered what Uncle Peter had said. "He's mine!" she shouted. "And he's wonderful!" "He surely is." Mr. Willis went across to look at the lamb, a big smile on his face. Then he returned and lifted Julie in his arms. "Come away from this din for a minute." He sat her on the hood of his car where they could speak without shouting. Daddy followed, looking in a puzzled way from one to the other. "Now just tell us all about it," said Mr. Willis. Then Julie told him how she had found the golden lamb and had hidden him away because of the good of the flock. "I'm glad you remembered that," said Daddy proudly. "She was brought up to think of that," he added to Mr. Willis. Then he looked sternly at his daughter. "And you know very well why we can't keep odd sheep like this one, Julie." By this time, all the other sheep were in the yard, and Murphy dismounted and came over to them. "It was not my fault, Mr. Sanderson," he said. "I saw the lamb, and I was going to kill it. But your brother told me to let it go for Julie's sake. I told him that he'd regret it, but he wouldn't listen.
Is that a dog or a black lamb?
What?
Is that a dog or a black lamb in that picture?
That's a dog.
Dog, okay.
Sheepdog.
It's sheepdog. I couldn't see.
Mr. Willis broke in. And a lucky thing he didn't listen. This was the most exciting sort of sheep I know. We're quite right, Julie. He is very special indeed. Murphy's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? That thing? I've only seen one ever before. But we got rid of it along with the other freaks. You weren't to know, Mr. Murphy, said Mr. Willis. But if you ever find another one again, call me at the CSIRO. They'd have a laugh. I'm not joking, Mr. Willis went on again. I must have another look at this lamb right now. I can't wait any longer. Then he returned to the gar. He was smiling broadly. Yes, he's a perfect Leicester mutant. Julie looked puzzled. This is what we call these golden lambs, Mr. Willis explained. We are collecting a flock of them. Only one of these is born for every million ordinary merinos. So you can see collecting them is a slow job. We already have a few, and we hope to find more. We hope that these golden sheep will have golden lambs so that someday there may be a new kind of sheep. And what will you do with them? Asked Julie. Mr. Willis smiled. We are finding all kinds of uses for their silky straight wool. It has already been made into a beautiful strong felt. For hats, said Julie. I'd love to have a hat of golden felt. Mr. Willis looked seriously at Julie. And one day perhaps you shall. Now, Julie, if your father agrees, will you give this lamb to us so that it can live with the ones we already have? Julie thought hard. He would be happier with other lambs like himself, wouldn't he? He certainly would. Julie looked over to the flock. The golden lamb stood apart from the other sheep, turning his head to and fro. She thought of him playing happily in a flock of the golden sheep, just like himself. Then she turned to Mr. Willis, nodding her head and smiled.
That's a dog too, that one. Look at that.
And so the lamb went away. And that is how the golden lamb found friends. He wanted among lambs as golden as himself. And although Julie has a pet lamb of her own now, with a fleece of soft white wool, she thinks often of the strange and beautiful golden lamb she had found on that morning in spring.
They're all like, stop the noise.
The end.
Now it's your fault.
Now you have to reread that whole page because they couldn't hear over the clacking of the wheel.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna read this page.
The
Like
last
the
page.
last page.
The
Like
last
the last
page.
2 pages.
Last 2 pages? Okay. We already have a few, and we hope to find more. We hope that these golden sheep will have golden lambs, so that someday there may be a new kind of sheep. And what will you do with them then? Asked Julie. Mr. Willis smiled. We are finding all kinds of uses for their silky straight wool. It has already been made into a beautiful strong felt. For hats, said Julie, I'd love to have a hat of golden felt. Mr. Willis looked seriously at Julie. "And one day perhaps you shall. Now, Julie, if your father agrees, will you give this lamb up to us so that it can live with the ones we already have?" Julie thought hard. "He would be happier with the other lambs like himself, wouldn't he?" "He certainly would." Julie looked out over the flock. The golden lamb stood apart from the other sheep. Turning his head to and fro, she looked at him playing happily in the flock of golden sheep, just like himself. Then she turned to Mr. Willis and nodded her head and smiled. So the lamb went away. And that is how the golden lamb found the friend he wanted among lambs as golden as himself. And although Julie had a pet lamb of her own now, with a fleece of soft white wool, she thinks often of the strange and beautiful golden lamb she had found on that morning in spring. The end.
Okay, did anybody miss anything now?
Like, they're gonna demand story time every week now.
Right.
And we're gonna,
We can't do that. The kid has school.
right? They're gonna ban us.
They're gonna be like, we get story time with Declan.
We could do it every Saturday.
Right? We have to do the wheel thing. We're spinning for money, not money.
Okay, should I finish
Same.
the video?
No, we gotta talk about the golden
Yeah,
lamb.
turn it to us now.
Yeah, you can put it on us.
Even though you could talk about the golden lamb more.
Oh, the golden lamb?
Uh-huh.
Well,
What was your take on this story?
they shouldn't be quite as jumping to conclusions, because imagine if they were the ones before the CSIRO to start breeding the golden lambs and made the newest species. They could have become rich and famous and really popular among the Australian sheep people. And yeah,
So,
don't be so ignorant.
that's your take on it. Don't be so ignorant.
Yeah.
Okay.
There
So,
was a lot of other words he said last night about this book too.
Yeah.
right.
I'm gonna
What'd you call this book yesterday?
slightly racist. Like, you shouldn't judge things off their color of hair.
There you go.
Okay.
This is the racist sheep book according to Declan.
Well, they used to kill the black sheep too. That's why there were no black sheep. So this is like a real thing,
You can turn it to us.
and you
They
can
might not want
Google.
us.
Whoops! Sorry, just break it. You can actually Google Leicester mutant as a thing, and there are Leicester mutant sheep.
Heather, move your chair away from me. Oh, you're gonna do it up there.
There.
Wow. He's so responsible.
I know. Oh, we have one so responsible around here.
No, okay. Cricket is wonderful. Okay, just
It's all good. Cricket's okay.
I'm still flying. My
It's-
bobbin's
it's-
full. I didn't make the noise.
I had to get the yarn off. I was done.
Uh-huh.
I was done. She's the one who was talking the whole time. I'm like, wanted to interrupt the story and have like a 20-minute conversation. Okay, so you guys can Google Leicester mutant, but there was just another story on these that they are now doing research on these for human hair.
Yeah.
Which is probably how they
Because
got the
wool
money.
is actually the closest animal growth fiber that is the closest to human hair in structure.
Weird, right?
Isn't that weird?
Right.
Think about it. Think about it. So all of our shampoos should be tested on wool, not dogs or mice or monkeys.
Right.
So we actually, make lanolin or grease or something like that.
I don't know, but there's some sort of thing with it. So they
There's
are
a
now. That's probably where they got the money. But these sheep are really unthrifty. and no one knows why. And there was a study, I want to say there were some in Oklahoma they were studying when I looked it up, but I might be wrong on the state, on where it was. But it's really interesting because I had read this book as a kid. And then we were talking about satinizing sheep because we talk about weird things like that.
No, we were doing the wool class and we were talking about CBMs.
Right.
Go lay down. You're in my string. This ends badly for all puppies who are in my string. Go on. They want to be nice.
They say he can come in after school.
He runs after school. He
runs. We can't take him. We'll have to take him in somewhere. Kelly just left because she's like, well, Declan's over, so I'm just leaving now.
Right. They're like, oh, well, Declan's done talking to us.
So, anyway, but it's really interesting because these sheep need a different diet than what most of the sheep do, and they haven't figured out exactly how to keep them alive. Which is probably, when you think about it, it wasn't 1 in a million sheep were born, it's probably that's how many survived.
Right.
Because range sheep, are pretty much on their own.
And if they can't do it on their own, then they kind of just
go away.
Right.
And they don't even necessarily track that on those huge sheep farms. And it is only found in Merino.
Which is really fascinating.
Which Merino is one of the oldest breeds of sheep, but it's fascinating that they aren't finding it yet in other breeds.
Right.
And it's not that it's not there.
It's just that it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Yet.
So it's really, really interesting. And so then was it golden because that was actually the color? Or is it golden because that was actually the when you have a satinized gene, the hair shaft is translucent? She's like stomping her feet at me because I feel like, will you take it out of my hand? It's very heavy.
I wasn't stomping my feet. I was pointing, just pointing. I was told to be quiet by the people on the video.
Danielle, why are you so cranky today?
I had to finish some yarn last night because I'm kind of crazy and I felt like I was really behind on my yarn production because I'm not a production spinner.
Because we have weird squirrels.
Right. And I, interrupt story time with Declan is same kind of situation. So I binge watched a television show with pretty men on it. Yep, I'm objectifying men. Sorry, men. Pretty men and
Scottish people.
Well, Scottish men.
They had wool. It was on target.
It was on target. There was wool.
In costumes.
Right. Pretty men. Wearing wool. In costumes.
In kilts.
Outlander, if you haven't put that all together. Because, the actor that plays Jamie is hot. And, it's on.
She watched it till 4 in the morning.
It was not 4, it was 2:30 when I made my Facebook post.
No, it wasn't. It was 3.
Last time I looked on Facebook, it said it was like 7 hours ago or something.
Oh, poor Danielle, she couldn't sleep or something.
No.
Crap. All night.
Nope, I wasn't watching the Raccoon Trap. Oh my gosh. Guys, I have it on video. That kid got in the Raccoon Trap again last night to show me how the Raccoon Trap works.
That was the best. You should really put that video on Facebook.
Jeez. I mean, it's like, seriously, you got in the Raccoon Trap,
So, she stayed up till 4 in the morning, or 3.
3.
To watch things.
I didn't know it was solely to ply yarn. Jeez. What are you guys thinking? Was it really to look at hot men?
And she plied all the yarn.
I did.
Because now we are like, this is probably partially why we don't do better at this challenge. We obviously procrastinate.
procrastinate what part? I've been doing the spinning thing all week. I don't know what part of procrastinating. There's just not enough hours in the day, so I made more. Okay?
No, there's a lot of people who spend 16 hours a day, and this thing, that's not us.
No, I don't have 16 hours in the day to spin. And I want to make the yardage that those people who have e-spinners who spend 16 hours a day do. So, that there are no problems here. So I'm applying these bobbins that took me 2 days to spin. Hopefully I have 2 days worth of finished yarn. I don't have 3,000 yards of yarn here.
It would have taken you longer to, is that all of it, or is
No,
there more? Okay,
no,
there's more.
there's a whole other bobbin.
Okay.
Because 8 ounces of yarn does not fit on an 8-ounce bobbin plied, because there is bad math, voodoo, physics that are involved in this. It's something about puffing.
It's puffy, it gets fluffier.
You lose space. I don't know. I know there's a science thing here, and it's not making me happy. I don't know why science can't work for me in this aspect.
I don't know, maybe you should have spun spinner yarn.
This isn't that thick.
No, it's not. I didn't say it was thick.
Thick. That is a word my kids have been using a lot.
Thick?
Thick. Thick. As in like sick, but they say thick. Like,
no, thick as in it's big. It's like, we're just using the word thick, but emphasizing
Just
TH.
everybody does this, or just you guys?
Just us, because, I don't know,
Okay.
it's fun to say.
see?
Well,
thick.
we have to know whether this is like a thing. So
I don't
like
know.
If we're like at a thing and there's kids and we go, that's so thick.
Right,
I'm
right.
really impressed.
Right. We have to make sure we keep our cool meter up.
Right.
Gosh.
Because otherwise now we know that we can't do that because they'll just go, what?
What the hell?
No, we're just using it as in, like,
So it's just my mutants.
Can you guys start this as a trend then if you're going to have trends in your house?
He has tried to start a couple of trends. He's tried to bring Groovy back.
that failed.
That failed.
That failed.
I know.
Well, you know,
Kids aren't groovy these days.
they're not groovy these days.
Shelly, we're gonna send him to you so you can dress him up and he can talk like a Southern dandy and insult people with compliments.
We are only sending Dalton if you promise to make him dig a swimming pool for the sheep.
Right, so you can swim the sheep.
Like a dipping pool.
Right, because
Otherwise he'll remodel your house, best old house. What?
so bad.
She's really tired, it's awesome.
I am like fiber show tired.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. I don't know.
I've been getting sleep. I don't know what your problem is. I may stay up tonight really late.
There's the truth. Really, it's probably because we've been competitively trying to compete against each other, even though we're not. We are, because we're
Well, we could
sick
stay
like
up
that.
tonight. We could binge watch TV with each other in different houses.
But we can't be talking, or it totally slows everything else down.
Right. We could just like text each other every time like the episode's over or something. I don't know.
Or if you started it at the same time.
Danielle made fun of me today because I'm wearing pajama pants. I am.
She is. Okay, but I have to admit, yesterday I looked at my pajama pants like that, and I thought to myself, is my tunic long enough to cover that hole that's in the thigh?
I could not find my
So-
black leggings and it was cutting into my spinning time.
Right.
So
So,
I just
yes,
threw my clothes again.
I thought I was gonna wear my pajama pants too, because I really, dude, those leggings, those flare leg yoga pants are so comfortable.
They're really comfortable.
Really comfortable, and like seriously, I didn't do it. I thought about it. This is like Confessions with Heather and Danielle.
Right. Well, you know, it's day 6. Okay?
I brought food. It's a snack party tray.
If you guys come tomorrow for our spinning party, we will have food here.
Right.
We're gonna be here
because-
early because we're just gonna freaking spin. Man.
Seriously.
So when you guys come
If
in,
I stay up till 2 in the morning, I have to get some sleep.
you don't have to get sleep. There's no sleeping.
Uh,
This is the last day.
I know, it's the last day of
You
the
get to
miles.
sleep on Sunday.
You can sleep like as soon as you get
Like
home.
where's the sleeping? Like Sunday, what do you have to do on Sunday?
Clean rabbit cages?
Whatever, you have kids to do that.
It doesn't work that way.
You only have like 6 rabbits. The rest of them are adults.
That is not true. That kid will tell you how many I have, and don't ask him.
They're tiny, they don't count.
Right.
It takes like 4 Brits to make up 1 Angora.
It really doesn't, because one Brit eats, 2 Brits eat the same amount as one Angora.
That's not my problem, their metabolisms are fast.
Their
okay?
metabolisms are fast, okay? And then, what did I do there? Oh, I have a little doodle. I'll just crochet it in.
That's how you know that it's handmade.
Right, it's badly plied.
You fly really fast.
I do ply really fast.
She flies faster than I do.
I ply faster than I spin. Maybe that's why flying doesn't bother me. Hey, whoa,
I
this
am
one's really squishy.
It's really
Look at
squishy.
this, it's so pretty. It's like all I have. Matches my shirt. Oh!
Wow.
I know.
This is
Okay, guys, we talked yesterday about our first yarns.
Everything.
I threw everything. I threw it on the dog. Okay, we talked yesterday about our first yarns. Okay, look. See, I have to undress for this. This is the circle shawl I made out of one of my first yarns. It's a whole fleece. Processed it. Yep, I combed it with bad combs that my husband made for me out of nails, and that was before I got good combs. And see, look how fat it is. It's fat yarn, and it's lumpy, and I plied it with cotton thread. So your first yarns can be beautiful too.
This is a Fricky skein winder.
It's a what?
A Fricky,
Fricky. Yes, it is.
and you can get them. This one has a broken counter.
Which we can get on China Mart.
Yep. Which is where they get them. If you get one and it has a broken counter, it's much cheaper to go on at eBay than it is to go back to Fricky.
Because they want to charge you like $40 for those suckers.
And they're like $3 or something like that.
Yeah, they are, but it's it's
And
sketchy.
it's just a clicker.
It is just. Well, we need to bring in our spinning stool / table, or get a table.
Trailer.
Didn't we sell one?
No, we almost sold one.
Okay.
We'll probably both sell a bit.
Right, and then we
No.
lose our coffee table. Not really. We order more. 5.
Now she's gonna count, so you guys can all shout out numbers 17, 42, 18. We used to do that when I worked at the
15.
restaurant. It was the best
You're
part.
so bad. 20. Because I can barely remember what number I'm on anyways. There's a show on Netflix that Dalton wants me to watch, 25. And it's people counting quarters for 24 hours.
What?
I'm not
That's
joking.
a weird show.
25.
So we are going up to Fiber Fusion and we're doing a whole bunch of the demos that they have.
I lost count.
Why do you just not wait?
I'm gonna wait.
Apply the
Apply the other. Can't count.
I didn't count mine. I just threw it on the floor
This is so bad.
in a skate.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, okay, what are we doing? We're going up
We're
to
going
Fiber
to
Fusion.
Fiber Fusion. We're doing a whole bunch of the demos.
We are. We're going to talk about
So
how.
there's gonna be. So if you guys are close to Monroe, Washington, you guys can come to demos. They're free.
You
Saturday
get
and
to,
Sunday.
and you get to enjoy our entertaining, random, factual statements.
And there will be on washing fleece, selecting fleece,
Angoras, Angoras, and more Angoras.
skirting and prepping fleece.
Yep.
So all of those things. How in that one we will go through like not just skirting, but like what I call in my head deep skirting. I don't call it.
Hard skirting.
Well, hard skirting, but also like separating the fleece out between like not every part of the fleece is good for every project.
No.
So you have to know
Oh.
what your
Frick.
thing is. She's having problems.
I didn't put my wheel back together the right way.
That wheel is the dramatic wheel
I fixed string
that blew up on me twice.
during a speed challenge.
She said
She doesn't go fast.
she goes really fast. She just thought I was excessive.
She doesn't like whipping at the end of the race. So
No.
bad hours.
Nope, I was just going and she was like, no. She's
Right.
not like Brownie, that little pony in the book
Well,
that
yeah,
would
okay,
have been
so
devoted.
I am impressed by this pony. It couldn't be a real pony. It had to be just a short horse. Because a real pony would have left.
While
I just,
she carried the sheep away?
yep, a real pony would have been like, nope, sorry, kid.
Well, no, the real pony wouldn't have left. The real pony would have sat there and grazed. And then when she went to get back on,
It would have,
Would've
she would have
moved
never
the
been able to catch it again.
Would've been like
It would have
30
been
feet
3
away.
steps ahead of her the
The
whole
whole
time.
time.
She would have never been able to catch it. That was the only fictional part of the book, is how she caught her pony again.
maybe she hobbled it and just didn't talk about it. Because they used to do that in like the West and stuff. They'd hobble them really fast.
This is not the West. This
well,
is Australia.
Australia, same thing. Yes, we will talk about washing, dyeing, and blending Angora.
It wasn't the
Up
west,
there.
it was the south.
South
Southern Australia.
Declan remembers really good details. I don't know what other books we have him read. Like, what do you guys want him to read?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, like, give us a
we-
book list, man.
right.
because
We can
I don't
totally,
have-
and we can learn to be quiet and not heckle.
There's really exciting concept. This whole thing in this book that I read it when I was like in the 2nd grade.
And the fact that they killed all these sheep, and then they did this research, but then they kind of like abandoned it because the
Actually,
wolf.
there's more research than you would think that has been done on it.
I could read Why Not to Run
War
with a
and
Double Bitted
Peace.
Axe.
Wow,
No.
she wants War and Peace.
You're not having him read War and Peace.
That's Sue Hopkins says. Wow, they're counting for me.
What about like, I don't know. I mean,
I can
guys want
do
s-
quiet, kinda.
we were talking yesterday that we should go to one of those silent places.
I have like Tourette's. Botulism. There'd be words. Lots of words. Declan couldn't do it either. He knows that. He's like hovering behind me. It's kind of creepy. So what's your plan for the rest of the day? Are you gonna go to the library and find us another really interesting sheep book?
He's gonna go research Lester Mutants.
I don't think he is.
No.
I don't really.
I don't really care, he says.
I don't really care. It's just a book that I read.
Okay. Yeah.
So he will read books for you. You guys give us book requests, and Declan will, in his very sweet voice, read you books, and we'll dress him in Noro.
Right.
We'll dress him up every time.
With a different sweater.
Well, we have to make more, okay? You don't have that many here. What I mean?
I could wear my other normal vest next time.
That's not a Noro vest. That's a cozy soft vest.
I don't care. It's still colorful and it's a vest.
Wow.
We need now to make him vests. Like, Kelly, can you make him all the vests now?
Right.
Because that would be good.
I still have my sunglasses on my head. Declan's favorite books: Harry Potter, The Hobbit. Wow. So you guys are telling me that he has a really good voice for this, and he is going to like become a audiobook reader?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard that from way back there. There was a yeah, duh from across the room.
Will I have to get really popular in something else and then?
Well, you know,
No.
these all go on YouTube eventually, and then you'll just
You
have
can
like a
just
YouTube
read
following.
books. You can. We can
We'll
create
just set up a YouTube channel just for Declan.
Declan
In all our
reads
spare
books.
time.
Yep.
Story hour with Declan.
Right.
Right. That would be what it was.
You know, if he learns how to use the Facebook to YouTube thing and does it for us,
I could start doing it on my own.
right.
Like, you could set me up a Facebook account.
Oh
Oh my
man,
gosh, she just walked right into that one.
I know, right? Help me,
Walked
guys.
right into that one.
Like, I didn't walk, I ran and then dove head first.
We could have her. Wait. We could have Declan read. We could have Declan read the chapter in Little House on the Prairie books in the Farmer Boy about the sheepy thing.
We could.
I have that one at home.
Okay. So we'll read excerpts of really big books.
The Little House on the Prairie isn't that big. It's just really.
It would take
What?
you hours to read it. Okay, it's like 300 pages. Okay, maybe not 200 pages. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But the words are printed big.
It's still a lot of words.
Okay.
You see, that's light reading, Heather.
I understand, but when you're reading it out loud, that's not like one thing.
I could start reading a book chapter by chapter, and it could be a
Okay.
whole thing.
We have been hijacked.
We have been hijacked. Look at us go. Hey, it's Heather and Danielle, the Pearly Shell Pirates, and Declan, the hijacker.
Right. We're gonna be in a parade.
We are.
Yep.
We got the dogs' costumes.
Yep. We're gonna teach Jack to pull a cart in a week. Day.
Pirate ship.
Yep, we're gonna do that.
The Humane Society might get mad at you.
He will
I
like
doubt
it. And then Declan's gonna march in the parade. We made him agree to march in the parade. Socialize his dog.
I don't know what he's going
He's
to be.
going to be Han Solo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mom ordered him a costume.
Oh, I didn't realize that she ordered him on Solo.
She mommed for you.
I was going to dress him up like a salt shaker since he's so salty lately.
Right. Crusty old sea captain. But
Right? We were going for crusty old sea captain and
no,
scurvy dog, but
he's gonna be a sky pirate.
yep. What's the dog gonna be?
I don't know what his dog's gonna be.
Man,
That's up to Declan.
I have to like get her a Chewbacca costume.
Right? Good Chewbacca costume. So that's the seaside on the 26th. So we're in
Monroe next
Monroe,
weekend.
and then we're in Seaside. Hello.
Hi, David Beach Farm.
Oh.
Here, we're delivering over here.
Awesome.
Awesome.
We need that. Thank you.
Tacos also. They messed up the taco one, so.
That's
Oh
okay.
my gosh, they
Look at you guys. You can get like beach fire. They're really good. We've had them. We've gone there.
those are the really good ribs that
That
don't
I got. Yeah. And
Yeah.
now they'll deliver it to us.
Yeah.
We
And
like
rib
that.
Tips, if we have the rib tips, get those. I mean, that's the best.
Oh, rib tips are amazing.
Yeah.
It's really, actually, really, really good barbecue, and I've lived in the barbecue lands.
And yes, thank you. And the tacos too.
Okay.
Street side tacos, we're delivering those. too.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yep,
you.
online. It's online ordering. You just do it right online.
That's even better. We don't have to talk
You
to
don't even have to
anybody.
talk to Ed on the phone.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so
Uh-huh.
much.
Look at that. We have, this is like big time, okay?
Deliver tacos, guys.
We can order tacos and ribs.
Tacos and ribs.
Why didn't he just bring us it now? Like, just
I'm
brought us,
actually hungry.
huh?
I'm not hungry.
No, because we ate everything yesterday. Yesterday we went to the new panini chowder place. Well, we didn't go. Danielle went and brought that.
I stood in line for a really long time.
She lost valuable spending time.
Yeah.
Valuable spending time, but we had really good paninis and really good chowder. We not only live at the beach, but there is good food here.
You didn't stand in line. You sat at a table waiting for your order to come up.
There
It's
was
the
a
same
line.
Thing.
Don't try to make it so dramatic.
Wow. Producer Declan.
See,
We-
okay, you guys are making fun of me for picking on him while he was in front of the camera reading a book.
This is
Oh
what
my
he's
gosh,
like all the
this is
time.
what we get all the time. All the time.
God.
He is so ornery.
Yeah.
So, okay, next weekend's Monroe.
Yep, we're up there for 2 days selling things, come buy things.
Yep,
And with rabbits, we have rabbits too, which is very exciting.
yep.
And then the 26th, we are here at the shop, and then we march in a parade in Seaside.
Yep.
Because that seemed like a really fun thing to
We
do.
have a party here in November.
Yes, big party in November.
Big party in
We have-
November
and we are
with
at
like
a s-
classes.
And we have a sock retreat in November that we're
Trunk showing out.
we're trunk showing at the Crank and in Rockaway Beach.
So, if you want sock yarn,
Come now because we're
come
not
now.
gonna have any.
Get it now because
They're gonna buy it all.
they are. They
And
really
then
do.
we
Every
order.
year they kind of clean us out of sock yarn. So, and we tend to place our big order in the spring. So if you have a hankering for some Christmas socks now,
Uh-huh.
you need to get your sock yarn now so you can make a pair of socks a week, which is only like 9 weeks until Christmas.
Why do you have to put it like that?
Shelly did it to me 2 weeks ago or a week ago or something.
It was this week.
Was it this
It's
week?
only 81 years till the year 3000.
Only 81 years until the year 3000.
We forced adult conversation on him. Does anybody else? We all had to go through that, okay? We're when we were kids, it was even worse. There were no gaming things.
No,
was no
and
phone.
you had to be seen, not heard.
You had to sit
I
there
was told to
silently
be seen, not heard
while
once
we
as a
drank
kid.
coffee. And you
Oh
know
my
how
gosh.
long it took them to drink the coffee, and there was never food.
Never
There was
food.
there were like mints or hard candy.
And that was before there was Cartoon Network.
There was no TV. That would be
No,
rude.
no. And you couldn't play outside because they always lived in the
And there was no
the
internet.
trailer park or the old people.
And there was no
homes.
internet because you had to go so they hadn't seen each other in like a year.
Right, because gosh, we still get
So
stuff.
then the visitors would come, and then the visitors would come. Oh well, we're at Sue Ellen's house, but then Mary Ellen and Lou Ellen have to come over.
You have a lot of Ellens.
So I'm just making up names now. But that would be like, and like we used to come down, and all of my relatives lived at the beach. So not only that, I would have to sit there while they talked to each other,
And not get to go to the beach.
knowing that we were only going to get to the ocean like a half an hour before dark, and get to run to the beach and then have to leave again. So really, there's no complaining now.
All the adult conversation, all the you need to be seen and not heard.
That's why I learned to knit when I was 8 years old.
Right?
Because like I could knit.
And
Because
like, okay,
and then
guys.
they make fun of you knitting, like, oh, look at the little old lady sitting there knitting, and you're like, seriously?
Okay, and then like our adult conversation is not very adult.
Uh-huh.
So Declan can interject at any time.
And entirely alter the conversation. Yeah.
Well, kind of. A lot of times. No, we like include them, and it's just that we talk about sheep a lot, or wool, or
And you guys don't
Yarn.
even have sheep. Why would you talk about something you don't have?
because we love them. Would you like us to get some?
No.
I have room now.
We can get some sheep, we can arrange them.
I can keep them under your bedroom window. I could build a shed there.
That's my
instead of a den.
country. You're not allowed to intervene in my country.
He has a country.
Wait till we send them down to Florida.
Oh my
It's gonna be the
gosh.
best.
He's
No,
like, yeah,
Yep. You cannot intervene with Europia.
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 So, no, it was really bad, and but I learned a lot, like how to sit silently for hours. That's why I can't do it now. Probably the same for Danielle.
It was so bad.
Can I go to the library?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can go to the library.
I'll be back in between 3 and 4.
Okay.
Sounds like a good plan.
So it's not as precise.
6 to 8
Right,
whatever.
we'll see him sometime before dark.
or after.
Right,
It's El Waco. You guys, we're not being irresponsible. It's El Waco. It's the safest town. It's like living in Mayberry.
it really is.
So it's really cool because they get to run all over and do all the stuff.
He's not the only child running around. Oh, he is, because school's still
No,
in
they
session
they have no school here either.
on Friday.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because it's that holiday, remember? We
Columbus
covered
Day
the holiday
weekend.
weekend.
Yeah. I don't know
Is it Columbus Day or is it Indigenous Peoples Day now? I don't know.
I have no clue what they call
Anyway,
it.
it is a holiday weekend.
Probably depends on what state you live in.
Probably. So no, we had he just doesn't like the sheep idea. That's his entire problem. Shelley doesn't think that you were quiet then either as a kid. Did your parents do the same thing to you, where then if you did start talking, like if they talked to you and adulted with you, then they would go, you talk too much. We didn't get to discuss all the adult things.
I was told I was too loud.
A lot, yeah.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I got sent away a lot.
So,
My grandma would leave us in the car too.
yes.
Really long periods of time.
Like I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Right, right.
And an hour and 45 minutes later.
And it was hot in the car. Those vinyl seats.
It's amazing any of us survived.
Right? We never got out of the car.
Well, she was gonna kill you.
Kill me. Out of the car.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we never died. We learned to roll down the windows very early though.
Oh, are you? Yeah. So we're like spinning, we have piles of yarn here everywhere. Not enough.
Not enough. Most of my pile is at home. I almost brought it today.
You have to bring it tomorrow.
I do have to bring it tomorrow so we can take a picture of it outside on the bench.
Except it won't be all done because there'll be like more yarn on your wheel at home because that's how this rolls.
Right.
Unless we like bring in a TV and sit here all night tomorrow night. Twins have to go out.
And the twins have to go out. Twin
So it's
shelfies.
sunny outside.
Whatever. We should have had Declan do that before he went gallivanting.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we had to be quiet as kids. Now we fail miserably at that. And
You should show them how you're flying.
huh?
You should show them how you're flying from the ball.
I would have to get the ball. Okay, so you guys are watching this me flying. So on the ground, retrieving. I have two center pull balls. And they're just kind of wandering around making pigtails everywhere. Okay, so they're just, because when one of these runs out, then I can grab the other one and I can pull from the center and the outside and finish it off so that my yarn, I have no leftover yarn. I hate that. Like 5 yards of leftover yarn. I want to use it all. So here I am playing, and I am just pulling from the ball, and now I have a pigtail. And I don't have 3 hands, but I do have a mouth. See? And I'm just pulling it and making like a V and running my finger along it while I treadle fast like. And I try to keep an eye on it and make sure that I have similar amount of twist throughout. I don't count my treadles because that's a lot of counting. And so this is just making a traditional 2-ply yarn from 2 separate bobbins. When I get down to 1 bobbin, it's not really a bobbin, but it was a bobbin. When I get down to 1 bobbin, I can show you guys how I'm making it from a center pull ball, which you can do at any time. That way, like if you only have 1 bobbin for your wheel, a lot of antique wheels only have 1 bobbin. A center pull ball is a great way to ply your yarn. I don't know how they would have done it any other way. They would have had to, whoa, I picked up glitter thread off the floor. Goes back to a ball of glitter thread. I have to pull that out. Okay. Now there's a knot of glitter thread. My yarn. Here we go.
It's
Fixed
okay.
it. It's all good. All good. No panicking here.
I am flying from a center pole.
Can you show them how that works? Because I was going to show them when I get down to the bottom of the nope, all done part.
Okay. So I made a center pole ball. And I'm using this thread from the outside from the inside. The only thing you have to do with this, you have to watch it so that it doesn't pigtail.
Right,
Back
and
on
that's
itself.
why you do like the braid thing, the V thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your V has to be clear of pigtails.
Yep. And I like keep mine on the ground, in between my feet.
Mine are not staying there. They were sitting nicely next to the chair. Not
And then
anymore.
I can go, the nice thing about doing it from a center pole ball is that you typically change gauge about halfway through your roving, not on purpose,
Never on purpose.
but you tend to get finer the longer you go, though a lot of times I get thicker.
I am thick and thin throughout a bobbin, depending upon what I was doing. If I was talking on a Facebook Live video, I should only ply during a Facebook Live video, not
Thin.
thin.
I don't
Yeah.
have that inconsistency, but mine, but statistically, you get finer as you spin along. Statistically, which we all know what statistics are.
So, and then another thing, guys, is you should never worry about your singles being perfectly even and thin, because if you're applying back on itself or with another hand spun yarn, the
It
chances
evens out.
of your thick spots actually ending thick. You guys emphasize that TH, so says the kids.
You were emphasizing the CK, but okay.
It makes you want to spit thick yarn. The thick spots don't tend to line up with each other.
Right.
They rarely do they end up together, and then your yarn tends to look more consistent than it
And you
actually
don't
is.
want to have completely consistent yarn. I mean, if you do, that's great.
If you can
Remember,
achieve
if
that,
you are-
that's wonderful.
if you
If
are-
you never achieve that, that's wonderful.
Because you are hand spinning because you want your yarn to look hand spun, partially. And
You're
if you
hand
are
spinning
so
because it
consistent-
brings you joy. If you are hand spinning because you want perfectly mill spun yarn, then and
That's
there's
great.
no joy, that's great, but really we spin because joy.
We wanted to have, we wanted happiness.
This was flying around.
You're flying things. And flying takes, you can get as exacting or inconsistent on flying also. I find I fly tighter. I prefer a tight, really balanced ply, so I tend to over ply and then I have to set my yarn.
Oh, Apple wants you to verify with your dollars
The
again.
thing again, I know, Apple's like, hello people. So,
Is it still working on that one?
I think so. I think it's just being a jerk
We'll
up
just
there.
ignore that up there. It's right across my head. I can't see myself.
Right. It
So,
looks like it is.
okay, so,
And you can.
I try to be consistent in my ply. I hate a loosely plied yarn, so I try to add more twist than I think I'm going to need, because seriously, it always looks like more twist right here than it does on there.
Right. And
So
don't
when you're
give-
looking at this is not what my yarn's gonna look like. It's gonna look like what's up here, which is less twisted, and don't be afraid to whack your yarn a little bit to even it out.
And I personally, and I'm sure somebody will scientifically disagree with me, I have yet to have a yarn that I have thwacked and finished that comes back and has a bias when I knit or crochet with it. It is okay if you are slightly overspun to have a twist in your yarn.
Yeah, I
have never had a problem
okay,
with
I
that.
will be honest, the ones that I can get after I wash and I thwack and everything, and they hang perfectly straight,
Mhm.
those are always slightly underplied for mine.
Yes.
But if they have like a slight twist, They
Like a one-turn twist.
one turn twist. I really prefer to work with those than I do the ones that have no twist, that just hang there.
Well, and that's partially because you are a crocheter, and crochet can take the twist out of the yarn. You will have a lot of people that say you should make it.
It can.
You have a lot of people that say that you should spin your yarn the opposite way for crochet. I can't do that. I have tried it. Every time I try it, I mess it up.
It's
I am so programmed.
So with crochet, some crocheters take the twist out. Another thing is if you take your yarn, you obviously when we get a skein of yarn, we then put it into a ball. If you pull from the center of your center pole ball, you will have less twist in your yarn than if you pull from the outside.
Yep.
The outside adds more twist. I prefer to crochet from the outside because then my yarn has more twist. So when I pull from the outside and I'm crocheting, I'm not actually losing twist because I'm adding more twist to it. It's not a lot, but it's enough that my yarn stays on my hook the same as it would a knitter's needle.
Right.
And I've noticed I don't take a lot of twist out of my yarn when I crochet. I have taught people who take all the twist out, and I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's a way they twist their hook.
Right.
I also twist my hook different than a lot of people.
Right. It just depends on your technique.
It does. It's not wrong, it's just different.
Yeah. It is, and as you spin, you'll learn what you like to work with, and you can spin for that purpose, or you can just spin. It is
Right?
So, yeah. So we're gonna be flying for forever.
I'm almost done.
Whatever. She says that.
3 hours later.
3 hours later, and 4 episodes of Outlander.
Gosh. Seriously, I almost feel guilty about Googling.
Why?
I don't know.
It's okay.
Not like women haven't been objectified for a bazillion years. Like,
Right.
just getting in my fair share.
Right.
Tipping the tables, one objectifying movie at a time.
Right. Right. It's okay. You're okay. It's okay. You can do that. You're allowed to stay up and
Objectify men
Yep.
all night long. Yep.
it's alright. You spin the yarn. That's how a lot of yarn gets spun. It's probably how a lot of yarn used to get spun.
That's how a lot of knitting gets done too.
Right?
Yep.
Alright, well you guys have fun. We'll be back on later.
Yes, I'm sure we'll have some tangent
Oh, something.
and we'll come back and we'll share it with you. So, okay, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.